All right, let's jump right in. We're going to explore this really old story, but it's about something that feels so incredibly current. A sleepless night. And what's wild is that it taps into a feeling that, let's be honest, every single one of us has felt. Loneliness.
So first up, everyone's sleepless night. Yeah, we're starting with this feeling we can all relate to because it connects everything from a classic rom-com to a story that's, thousands of years old.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Have you ever had one of those nights where you're just lying there staring at the ceiling and your brain just will not shut off? It's just racing, right? We've all been there. It's got to be one of the most universal human experiences out there.
The movie Sleepless in Seattle just nailed this feeling. You've got Tom Hanks' character, his wife has passed away, and his son can just feel how lonely his dad is. So what does he do? He calls a radio show. And that one little call, which comes from this place of quiet desperation, well, it kicks off the whole movie.
And the thing is, it's not always about something bad, right? Sometimes you're so excited, just buzzing with joy, you can't sleep. Or, yeah, it could be deep sadness. Maybe it's that nagging anxiety about what's coming next. And sometimes you have no clue why you're awake. But whatever the reason, that feeling, it's always, always powerful.
Okay, so let's move on. Section 2 is all about a guy named Zacchaeus, who is the definition of lonely in a crowd. To get his story, we're going to leave Seattle behind and travel way back in time. I mean, way back, to the ancient city of Jericho. And we're going to meet someone who, I guarantee you, was having a lot of sleepless nights.
So this guy Zacchaeus, I mean, if you just looked at his resume, you'd think he had everything figured out. He was a chief tax collector, which meant he had some real authority, some real power. And the story makes it super clear he was a very, very rich man.
So if he's so rich and powerful, why is he so lonely? Well, it all comes down to how he made his money. See, his job was to collect taxes from his own people and then turn around and give that money to the Romans, who were occupying their land. So you can imagine he wasn't just some guy doing a job. To his neighbors, his community, he was a flat-out traitor. He was getting rich off their suffering. They saw him as a sinner, plain and simple.
And this is where you see the huge gap in his life, right? The two sides of the coin. On the outside, rich, powerful, the guy in charge. But on the inside, totally isolated. He was literally lonely in a crowd. He had all the money in the world, but he has zero friends, no real community to speak of. You just know that guy wasn't sleeping well.
And look, this isn't just some ancient history problem. It's still happening today. Pastor Greg Laurie tells this heartbreaking story about a super famous rock star. I mean, this guy had it all, the success, the fame, the money, everything you could imagine. But inside, his life was totally empty. He got into drugs, and in the end, he took his own life. It's just a tragic, modern version of the exact same problem Zacchaeus had.
And this really gets to the whole point of the story. Jesus himself said it pretty plainly. A person's life, what really gives it meaning, it doesn't come from how much stuff you own. Now, this isn't saying money is evil or anything, but it's a huge reminder that a genuinely good, fulfilling life, it's built on something much, much deeper than that.
So, okay, if money and power aren't the answer to that deep, gut-wrenching loneliness, then what is? Well, for Zacchaeus, the answer showed up in one single moment, one encounter that changed absolutely everything.
Just try to picture this for a second. Zacchaeus hears Jesus is coming through town. He bolts outside, but problem. He's the short guy and the crowd is massive. And you can bet nobody is going to move aside for the town traitor, right? So in this moment of just pure desperation, this rich, powerful dude, he climbs a tree just to get a look. And then the unthinkable happens. Jesus stops right under that tree and he looks up.
And this is the turning point. Because Jesus looks up and he doesn't just see some guy in a tree. He sees Zacchaeus. He says his name, even though they've never, ever met. Can you imagine? For a guy who is basically invisible to everyone, or worse, just someone to hate, to be seen and to be known by name, that had to be a total shock to the system.
And then comes the invitation. And it's not a lecture, it's not a you should be ashamed of yourself, it's an invitation. Zacchaeus, I must stay at your house today. Wow, Jesus isn't just saying hi, he's choosing to hang out with him, to go to his house, the one house in town that nobody else would ever dream of visiting.
And that one single moment, being seen, being known, being accepted, it just flipped a switch inside Zacchaeus. A complete 180-degree transformation. And it happened like that. So he practically falls out of that tree, right? And he's so happy, just thrilled to welcome Jesus into his house.
Now the crowd? Oh, they immediately start muttering, "Can you believe it? He's going to a sinner's house." But Zacchaeus, for the first time, he probably doesn't even hear them. He doesn't care. Because for the first time in a long, long time, he isn't lonely.
And here's the really crucial part. This change wasn't just some warm, fuzzy feeling inside. It immediately turned into action. He gets up in front of everyone and makes this huge public promise. Look, I'm giving half of everything I own to the poor. And if I cheated anybody, I'm paying them back 4 times what I took. I mean, this is not a small gesture. This is him completely blowing up his old life and starting over.
And Jesus basically gives him a stamp of approval. He says, salvation has come to this house today. But then listen to this last part. It's so important because this man too is a son of Abraham. With just those few words, Jesus gives him his identity back. He's saying, you're not a traitor anymore. You're not an outcast. You belong.
So what's the big idea here? What's the takeaway? Well, this whole story is really this powerful metaphor. It's about the journey of going from being lost to being found.
In fact, right after this whole thing with Zacchaeus, Jesus basically lays out his entire mission statement. He makes it clear this wasn't just about having a meal with one dude. No, this was the whole point of everything he was doing, to seek and to save the lost.
Okay, so when the Bible talks about being lost, it's not like you need a GPS, right? It's a metaphor for a spiritual state. It's about living a life that feels disconnected from God, a life that's missing a real, true north, a real purpose.
And that is a perfect description of Zacchaeus, isn't it? His whole life was just going in circles. The only purpose was to make the Romans happy and to make himself rich. He was spiritually adrift, just floating. And that was the real source of all that emptiness and all those sleepless nights.
So being found is the answer to that emptiness. It's about fixing that broken connection and getting a fresh start with a brand new sense of purpose and direction. For Zacchaeus, his sleepless nights were finally over. He wasn't just rich anymore. He had a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
And that kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Zacchaeus' entire life, his whole future, it all changed because of one single, totally unexpected encounter. It really makes you think, what's the encounter out there that could be waiting to change your life?